On September 16th, 2002, the set titled Magic Ruler would be released in North America. During this time, spell cards were actually still referred to as magic cards. In 2003, when Magic the Gathering took issue with the name Magic Cards in Yu-Gi-Oh!, they would change the name to Spell Cards, and the set Magic Ruler would be referred to as Spell Ruler from there on out. And throughout the video, that is what I will refer to it as. Now, with all the oddities surrounding this set's name out of the way, let's start off our list with the number 10 card from this set, Relinquished. The card that would likely be considered the ace monster of Pegasus' deck, in tandem with Thousand Eyes Restrict, would naturally translate pretty well to the TCG. Relinquished allows a player to target a monster their opponent controls, and equip it to itself in order to change its attack to the opponent's monster. Not only does this card come with built-in protection by allowing you to destroy the equipped monster in a losing battle instead of itself, while it is equipped with a monster, any battle damage is dealt as effect damage to your opponent. Pretty good stuff, but unfortunately this card suffers from being a ritual monster. Especially when it was released, there was straight up no supports for rituals, and getting them onto the field was super hard to the point where it was not worth playing them many times. However, the effects of this card are straight up filthy, so it still gets the number 10 spot on this list. Next up at number 9, we have Cyberjar, who was actually recently taken off the ban list and limited to 1 copy per deck in October 2022. This flip effect card was so notable because of its sacky nature. When it was flipped face up, all monsters on the field would be destroyed, and then both players would draw 5 cards, special summoning all level 4 or lower monsters, thus completely resetting the board. Since its unbanning, it has not seen any play really, but in its heyday, it was enough to potentially save a losing game, flipping itself and devastating an opponent's board, while potentially having you special summon 5 monsters, and your opponent summoning 0. That's game right there. Although its play has trailed off, it definitely deserves its spot at 9, considering it was banned for around 15 years. From spot 8 on, you will now notice a trend. Given the set's name was Spell Ruler, all 8 of the best cards are indeed spells. Hey, at least the set lives up to its name. And starting those spell cards off, we have Mystical Space Typhoon. The card from the joke, does MST negate? This card has managed to stay relevant through the years, with a simple yet effective effect to target one spell or trap on the field and destroy it. This can be used to snipe pesky back row cards that used to wreak havoc, such as Mirror Force, or pesky negates like Solemn Judgment. The card also has the added bonus of being able to destroy one's own spells and traps, such as Gear Town, which allow a player to special summon an Ancient Gear Golem monster when it's destroyed. Coming in at number 7 on our list, we have Upstart Goblin. This simple spell allows a player to draw 1 card at the cost of giving their opponent 1,000 life points. Considering that in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, the only life point that matters is the last one you lose, giving your opponent 1,000 is nothing. And by drawing 1 card, each copy of Upstart Goblin essentially decreases one's deck size by 1 card, since they instantly see a new one. This sounds great, but the card is currently limited to 1 copy per deck, so its power is reined in. Still, it can be splashed into almost any deck and either be used to force out a hand trap like Ash Blossom from an opponent, or increase the consistency of 99% of decks. It's sliding in at 6, we got Giant Trunade. Following the trend of the last 2 spells, this card's effect is super simple and just returns all spells and traps on the field to the hand. This may not sound that great to some people because they only return the card to the hand rather than being destroyed, but in many instances, that is all a player needs. By removing all back row, setting up a board is so much easier, and especially in cases where a player can move for lethal in 1 turn, this makes their plan work so much easier, eliminating the worry of whatever is back there. There's also the added bonus that sometimes spells and traps like to be sent to the graveyard, like the previously mentioned Gear Town, and by sending the cards to the hand, that downside's avoided. This card's ability to nullify the back row has earned the card a reputation of being a consistently banned card, which is something in common with the next 5 cards on the list, who have all been banned for quite some time now. Speaking of that banned top 5, let's start it off with Confiscation. For a cost of only 1,000 life points, This card not only lets you look at your opponent's hand, but allows you to discard one card from there. This gives you valuable information about their strategy and what hand traps they might have, and gives you the opportunity to get rid of any problem cards that could screw up your turn. Following it up at number 4 is basically its sibling, Forceful Sentry. This card has the same effect, except instead of discarding the card to the grave, a player can choose to send a card from their opponent's hand into the deck. This can be better than sending a card to the grave, because of the aforementioned danger of sending a card to the grave and letting an effect resolve in there, that we didn't have to if we just sent it to the deck. At slot number 3 on our list, we have Delinquent Duo. In a similar vein to the last 2 spots, this is another hand disruption card. When Delinquent Duo is activated, the opponent discards one card from their hand at random, and then chooses one to discard themselves. Although you do not get to look at the other player's hand, like the previous 2 cards, you get the added bonus of discarding 2 cards rather than 1. Because what's in the graveyard is public knowledge, you get to see what 2 cards get discarded. And that's kind of just like looking at a tiny piece of their hand, possibly giving you enough information about their strategy. The only downside is that an opponent really can set up their graveyard if those 2 cards have graveyard effects that they want as soon as possible. However, getting rid of 2 cards can really destroy an opponent's game plan, and I believe this edges it over the other 2 hand disruption cards. The runner-up at the number 2 spot is the equipped spell Snatch Steal. You equip this card to a monster your opponent controls to take control of it in exchange for giving your opponent 1,000 life points during each of their standby phases. Let's keep it real though, who cares about 1,000 life points? This card is fantastic because it is able to bypass a lot of protection through being an equipped spell, and the only way for an opponent to regain control of that monster is for them to destroy Snatch Steal through some kind of spell trap removal of their own. Now the hand disruption spells were cool and all, but imagine the look on your opponent's face when they spend their entire turn making a bunch of plays, ending on one big monster that they think can win them the game, and boom, you Snatch Steal it, it's yours, you win the game. And finally, our number 1 card from Spell Ruler is Painful Choice. The card that only gets better as time goes on, Painful Choice, allows a player to show 5 cards to their opponent, who then selects 1 for you to add to your hand, while the other 4 are sent to the graveyard. Basically, you can select 3 of one card and 2 of the other, and be guaranteed to get 1 out of 2 cards, and the 4 that get sent to the graveyard can have graveyard effects. You can literally activate 4 graveyard effects for free while getting to add a card to your hand. One way that some players like to think of this card is, in 1 card, it is 1 reinforcement to the army and 4 foolish burial goods. So 5 cards for free, basically. As the game goes on and more cards get powerful effects in the graveyard, it seems like this card never has a chance of coming off the ban list, and has earned the number 1 spot on this list. And that wraps up our list of our top 10 cards from Spell Ruler. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite is, and have a great day.